Hello, welcome to this video. Today I show you how to use the scribbles of the Emalytics Preclinical software. And you can find the Draw Scribble menu in the mouse action toolbar on the left side of the software, here, symbolized by this red pencil. And it's a mouse mode to draw scribbles. And you can use the scribbles to delineate organs or structures in a few slices to get a 3D shape. They look like this. And you can draw scribbles only in the 2D slice views, not in the 3D rendering. But what we have here for an example data set, it's a CT scan of a mouse. And now we would like to use these scribbles to delineate some organs. For example, the urinary bladder. You can find it here. Let me open another slice view. And with your human eye you can easily differentiate the urinary bladder, but it's difficult to use an automatic segmentation operation because the intensity of the urinary bladder is very similar to the surrounding tissue. You can find the intensities in the right corner. For example, here it's 247 and here it's 183. So it's very similar. And we cannot use thresholding functions, for example, to segment it. And therefore it's more suitable to use the scribble tool. And now we delineate the boundaries of the urinary bladder. And another thing, when you open the scribble tool, you can find a special mouse settings toolbar on the top. And I will explain all these functions in this video. But for most operations, you can just use the default settings. So now I will just go on with the default settings. And I will start to delineate the boundaries. When you make a mistake, for example, a little bit too much like this, you can delete your scribbles with F1 or with this button here. Delete all scribbles and the red mask. Okay, but then you have to start again. So just use your left mouse button to delineate the boundaries of the bladder. Like this. And when you're happy, you can check out your segmentation. First, you have to press this button here, connect foreground and show it as red mask or F3. It looks like this. And then you have to press this, accept red mask as output class. But the problem was there was no output class. So again, F3. Define an output class first. Let's call a new class bladder. And now I can press this one or F4. And now I have the bladder segmented. However, it's not accurate enough, so I have to continue with my scribble drawing. And we say that typically for a good segmentation, you need around 10 slice views to draw scribbles there. Okay. So I continue with my scribble drawing like this. You can also hide your scribbles by ticking this box, but for me it's better to show them. Okay, then F3 and F4. Okay, now I think I have the whole bladder, but let me perform a smoothing. And now the bladder looks a little bit more nice. Okay, so you can investigate your segmentation in 3D. Looks really good. Let me jump to the heart to show you that this scribble drawing is a very fast tool. So I will stop talking for a second and I will segment the heart. Also, I will use the default settings. Then I press F3 and F4. I perform a smoothing. And I have my heart segmented. Okay, so with the scribble drawing, you can really segment convex organs in a very fast way. We also use it, for example, to segment the kidneys. But now I will explain the buttons on the top here. So again, you can hide the scribbles with this box. When you go to the eraser, you delete the scribbles. So when you start a new segmentation, I always recommend to press F1 first to delineate scribbles, because sometimes by coincidence, if you click somewhere, you can draw some scribbles and maybe you didn't want to draw them at this position. Then we have this F2, and it kind of can be used for cutting, and you can, for example, use this cutting to separate the connection between the lungs and the trachea. Let me show you how it works. So you click here, and now we connect them, and now this one is cut out, kind of. And yeah, it's good for cutting, and it's also explained in some other tutorial videos. For example, in the lung segmentation video. F3 and F4, I already explained it. This one, the gap, specifies the pixel gap between the foreground and background region in screen space pixels. You can also use intensities here. When it's deactivated, the intensities for the segmentation, for the scribble drawing segmentation, but when it's deactivated, then only the shape you provide with your scribbles is used. You can enter the thickness or change the thickness of your scribbles, also in screen space pixels. Then this connect mode is very interesting. Let me explain it to you. So for convex organs, you can also change this mode to convex. And what it makes, let me give you a very extreme example. Now also this red part here will be segmented as A, like this. Let me undo this. When I select non-convex and draw the scribbles again, then really only the area inside my scribbles, like this, you cannot see the red mask, but it's there, will be segmented. And as the name already says, convex can be used for convex organs, for example, the bladder, the heart, and the kidneys, and non-convex you can use, for example, for the liver, because they have like also some, special shapes. And here you really pay attention to the foreground voxels, and with auto also the information of the background voxels are important. Then with mode, let me go somewhere else. Here with mode, with double is the default settings, so you draw background and foreground scribbles. So again, the foreground scribbles are the bright lines, so in the inside, and the background scribbles are the dark line on the outside. Let me delete it. So here, in this case, you only draw foreground scribbles. With background, only the background scribbles. And you can also use Scribbles to delete something, and then it's white. You can delete some Scribbles, not a segmentation. So again, like this. Okay. Then with this D mode, you can select lines. Looks like this. Let me go to double. These are the lines, and they are not filled. When you go to filled, they are filled. And this will assign to your red mask later. You can save your Scribbles here, save Scribbles to file. You can load the Scribbles from a file. You can delete Scribbles. Let me delete the Scribbles and just draw some Scribbles here. You delete by 1, for example, and now here it's deleted by 1 voxel. You can set the red mask of the bounding box, so you can set the bounding box to the Scribbles. For example, when you only want to analyze a part of your data set, like this. So now the bounding box is set there, and with this you can crop your underlay to this part. Okay. You can turn the red mask into the output class, but restricted to the input class. So for example, when I draw some Scribbles here and here, and I will call it B, the new class. When I press this one, then everything of this green mask will assign to B, but when I select as input class the bladder and press here, only the parts of the bladder are segmented. It didn't work. Again. I have to press F3 before to assign a red mask. And now it worked. You can see it here. And let me explain the opposite. So like this and this. Let me delete it first. F3. So now everything is segmented as B. So unclassified on the outside and also parts of the bladder. But in this case, I restricted kind of the segmentation to the input class. And you can delete the background Scribbles. Like this. Okay. And I hope this helps. Thanks for watching. Bye bye.